Welcome to the Northbound Wealth Podcast. All opinions expressed by Brent, his co-host, or his guests are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Northbound Wealth Management LLC. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as personalized recommendations or fiduciary advice. It is not intended to provide and should not be relied upon for any investment, accounting, legal, or tax advice, or as a solicitation to offer or to buy any securities. Clients of Northbound Wealth Management LLC may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast.
Hello, everybody. Today is August 26, 2025, Weekly Market Insights. This is our 117th episode, and we'll just keep cranking every week. The Fed weighs rate move. Stocks were mixed last week despite a powerful Friday rally sparked by Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, who opened the door to adjusting short-term interest rates. The S&P 500 index picked up 0.27%, closing the week at 6,466.91, making it its third consecutive week in the black, while the Nasdaq Composite Index lost 0.58%, closing the week at 21,496.53. Taking a breather after notching record closes in recent days. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 1.53%, and the MSCI EAFE Index, which tracks developed overseas stock markets, increased 0.8%. All eyes are on Powell, Jerome Powell, that is, of the Federal Reserve Board. He's the chairman. Stocks traded in a narrow band to start last week as investors awaited fresh economic data and comments from Fed officials at their annual symposium in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. The balance of risks appears to be shifting, said quoted Jerome Powell, and an adjustment to the central bank's policy stance may be warranted, Powell said at that widely watched conference in Jackson Hole. After a big retailer reported quarterly results on Tuesday and gave encouraging guidance, stocks pushed higher, but markets took a breather later in the day as pressure on the mega cap tech and chip makers led the Nasdaq and the broader market lower. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq fell after minutes from the Federal Reserve's July meeting were published. They revealed that most FOMC members were more concerned about inflation than the job market. All but two sectors of the S&P 500 ended the week higher last week. That would be energy had the largest weekly percentage increase, up 2.8%, followed by a 2.4% rise in real estate and a gains of 2.1% each in the financials and materials sectors. The energy sector's climb came as crude oil futures also rose on the week. Gainers included shares of Schlumberger, ticker symbol SLB, which rose 8%, and Valero Energy, VLO, ticker symbol, up 6.3%. Top gainers in real estate included Host Hotels and Resorts, ticker symbol HST, up 7.6%, and Alexandria Real Estate Equities, or ARE, up 6.4%. The two sectors in the red were technology, down 1.6%, and communication services, down 0.9%. Intuit, INTU, ticker symbol, was among the technology sector's top decliners, falling 7.6%. The company reported higher than expected fiscal fourth quarter results. However, Q1 revenue and fiscal 2026 global business solutions revenue guides fell short of expectations, weighing on the stock, UBS Securities said in a Friday research report. On Friday, markets rebounded after Fed Chair Powell opened the door to a rate move at the Fed September meeting. The day's gains were strong enough to regain the week's lost ground for the S&P 500 and nearly all of it for the Nasdaq, and put the Dow solidly ahead for the week. So year-to-date trailing, S&P 500's up 9.22%, Nasdaq 9.73%, Dow Jones Industrial Average 6.38%, MSCI EAFE is leading the way. That's that overseas market, up year-to-date 23.57%. The 10-year Treasury note traded down a bit. It's at 4.26%. That is down from the 4.35 a month ago, and then 3 months ago, 4.54. So we've had a backup in the 10-year Treasury. Watch the rotation. Investors appeared to rotate out of mega cap tech as some expressed concerns about valuations and the durability of the AI-driven rally. Two facts help support this observation. The S&P fared better than the tech-heavy NASDAQ for the week. The Russell 2000 index of small caps was up 3.25% for the week. They beat all three major stock averages. The AI revolution. This is one of the comments I want to make. It's happening, and the efficiencies across market capitalizations should continue for this foreseeable future. We here at Northbound Wealth believe that this is a generational trend, and the applications and adoptions will be felt across most industries and sectors. We are also in a bull market trend that should continue for the years to come. Market behavior does not just go up and to the right in a straight line, but have corrections and consolidations along price and time continuum. Optimistic outlook. Schwab's second half 2025 client sentiment report asked 1,323 investors about the current state of their personal finances, and I thought I'd post this on the blog. Paying less in taxes brightens my day. So 57% say it's a good time to invest, 59% say better off financially, and 70% say confident in their decisions about finances. And it looks like spirits will likely continue. There's something for everyone in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act of 2025. In fact, the Tax Foundation calculated that in dollars and cents, each taxpayer will pay $4,000 less in federal taxes starting in 2026. That's news that brightens my day and looks like it continues to buoy investor spirits for the second half of the year. This week, key economic data. Monday, new home sales, Dallas Fed President Lori Logan, New York Fed President John Williams speak. Tuesday, durable goods, Case-Shiller Home Price Index, Treasury buyback announcement, consumer confidence. Wednesday, survey of business uncertainty, Richmond Fed President Tom Barkin speaks. Thursday, GDP reports, or the gross domestic product data, jobless claims, weekly home sales, corporate profits, Fed balance sheet. Friday, personal consumption and expenditures index, or the PCE, which is the Fed's preferred monitor of inflation. Notable companies reporting earnings. We've got NVIDIA on Wednesday, CrowdStrike this week as well. So we'll be paying attention to those two big companies. Thursday, Dell Technologies for those interested. All right, so let's move on. We got a good show for you. Hello, everyone. This is Brent Foster, and I wanted to talk about an article and make some comment on. One of Wall Street's favorite analysts just dropped a bombshell. His name's Tom Lee with Fundstrat. And I'm pulling some excerpts from an article written by Mehab Qureshi about 20 hours ago. And today is August 26th. So here's what he says and this is found on thestreet.com. I have links in the show notes. But Tom Lee isn't your average market analyst. The co-founder and managing partner of Fundstrat Global Advisors has long held a reputation as one of Wall Street's boldest voices, known for making out of consensus calls that often age like fine wine. Lee made his name as a top equity analyst at JP Morgan before launching Fundstrat in 2014. His approach mixes data-driven technical analysis with big-picture macroeconomic view. Fundstrat Global Advisors is a research and advisory firm co-founded by Lee in 2014. The company specializes in market strategy, macroeconomic research, and investment insights, particularly in equities and digital assets. Known for its data-driven analysis, Fundstrat is popular among institutional investors and become a go-to source for crypto and blockchain market commentary, which I read and happen to agree with. I really like Tom Lee. Followed him for years. He does a great job. Wall Street veteran on crypto. He was one of the first prominent Wall Street figures to recognize the investment potential of Bitcoin, predicting its long-term rise even when prices were struggling below $3,000. Now it's well over $100,000. That track record has made Lee a favorite, not just among traditional investors, but also within the crypto community. And this time he's turned heads in the crypto space again. In a new interview on CNBC, Lee said what many crypto advocates have long believed, but few traditional analysts have had the courage to say out loud. Bitcoin and Ethereum aren't just trending, they're leading the market. You want to be long AI and long the crypto trade because those have been the market leaders, Lee said. So the Mag 7, Bitcoin and Ethereum, but The broadening is really the financials, industrials, and small caps. Lee also said that the S&P 500, Dow Jones hitting new all-time highs is just the beginning. I think there's a lot of upside, especially because once you get the ISM, which is the Institute for Supply Management report, back above 50, it really does argue for a broadening of markets, he explained. And I think one of the leaders probably comes from the financial sector. So I think towards the end of the year, $6,800 to $7,000 for ETH or Ethereum is possible. But the real takeaway wasn't about stock indices. It was about how blockchain and the crypto space are positioned for a seismic shift. And perhaps his boldest statement yet, Lee compared Ethereum's current transition to Wall Street's departure from the gold standard in 1971. Wall Street moves to the blockchain. So it's a lot like 1971 when the US dollar went off the gold standard, Lee said. That created the innovation of Wall Street because they had to sort of essentially create this synthetic dollar. Wall Street moving on to the blockchain is a bigger moment. And I think that's why Ethereum is essentially having its 1971 moment equivalent. That's no small comparison. The gold standard shift sparked a new era of monetary policy and financial engineering. If Lee's right, Ethereum may be on the cusp of a similar transformation in finance. The macro case for crypto, in Lee's view, is getting stronger by the day, with institutional adoption rising, blockchain-based infrastructure maturing, and public understanding growing. The stars may be aligning. Lee's comments come at a time when Bitcoin and Ethereum are gaining renewed momentum. Ethereum recently surged over $4,800 and is up 14.25% in a single day, while Bitcoin has held strong above key support levels, trading at 112,000. So, no kidding, no joke, it's here. And in future articles and future podcasts, I may share more about how blockchain, how traditional finance and banks are heading over to the blockchain and creating stable coins and kind of like an alternative to treasuries. And banks and traditional finance can make more money doing that than they could in the traditional way with deposits and on net interest margin, things like that. They could actually do better and speed up all and eliminate intermediaries from cutting out profits and things like that. So you could see the potential of the financial sector, the likes of JP Morgan and others, trading a bit differently than they have in the past, not like traditional banks, but more like growth stocks. All right, on to the next article about this type of thing, and it was done by the Daily Upside. So this was an article on the Daily Upside, and it was written by Jamie Wild. And what I want to do is dive into it. So the headline reads, Ethereum battles Bitcoin for Wall Street whales. Bitcoin's little sibling Ethereum is stealing the spotlight lately, climbing more than 30% year to date as of yesterday afternoon to outperform its number one crypto rival. And this was as of August 26th. So basically today. All right, let's keep going. Both of the two biggest cryptos surged on Friday after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell hinted at a September rate cut. Bitcoin rallied above 112,000 and Ether hit an all-time high above 4,800. But Bitcoin rapidly cooled over the weekend and as investors reined in their rate cut hype and some shuffled their crypto portfolios in favor of Ethereum. By Sunday, Ether broke past 4,900 before cooling off on Monday. Bitcoin, meanwhile, flash crashed below 112,000. At one point, it lost nearly $2,000 in about 20 minutes because, well, that's crypto. And that's true. If you're not prepared for volatility, I would not be in the space. But long term, over time, it's proven to be pretty good asset class, given the revolution that's happening in finance and fintech. Trying to speak whale. So investors have been playing Dory all weekend, trying to understand what big time crypto investors, aka whales, are saying about their recent money moves. Some ex-users blamed one whale for triggering Bitcoin's drop by rapidly selling off 24,000 Bitcoin within days, but multiple whales could be swimming in the same direction. Analytics firm Chain reported Friday that it found a wallet that recently sold more than 100,000 Bitcoin and bought more than 60,000 Ether. When one whale moves, let alone multiple whales, it can cause massive ripples. Play on words there because Ripple is a crypto. That's in part because investors have automated trades set up to sell off tokens that hit a certain price. These trades are executed quickly around the clock. Not to mention, crypto's ultra online nature makes it inherently sensitive to rumors and hype. Remember the impact one post from Elon Musk had on Dogecoin, the one that looks like a dog. Meanwhile, Bitcoin still dominates crypto markets. Ether has been nibbling at its market share. Ether caught investors' interest this year because its native blockchain is the go-to for tokenized assets like stablecoins, which major financial institutions and regulators are embracing. Second best, Ether's an institutional fave right now, and its mainstreamalization may set it apart from other cryptocurrencies as an option that seems less risky. Ether could also benefit from being smaller than Bitcoin. Some analysts say its smaller market cap means more upside for investors, but skeptics say Ether's not protected from the same pressures that pushed down on Bitcoin over the weekend. And when investors want to de-risk away from crypto, Ether isn't an exception. The coin's Monday cool-off could be proof that, or just the start of a new cycle for the coin as it meets resistance around 5,000. I actually think it's just it's a correction within a long-term trend. Resistance will be broken out above eventually, especially as more adoption happens within the financial sector and the banks moving away from traditional finance. You got a president too that embraces crypto in this administration and is working on with regulation to kind of police it a little bit and give guidance as to how it's going to be treated in the tax world, that type of thing. So I thought this was interesting to share with you. Most folks out there that are listening to this probably have some exposure to Bitcoin or ETH, and maybe some of you really understand it, and others are like, I have no clue what they're talking about, but I just want to participate. And at least to some degree here on the Northbound Wealth Podcast, I do want to bring up these types of fintech innovations and what's happening in the macro environment in the world out there in finance. Hello, everyone. This is Brent Foster, and this article was updated and posted on August 21st, 2025. It's from Palantir Technologies. If you go on LinkedIn, this article is posted out there. I'm going to put it in the show notes. And it's answers to frequently asked questions. Palantir, to a lot of people don't really know what the company does. So they decided to put up an article that kind of explains what they do. And I thought it was important to go over. A lot of my clients own Palantir and have owned it over the years. So there's about 507,000 followers following Palantir Technologies on LinkedIn. And I think this is worth going over. So let's dive in. This is straight from the company. What does Palantir do? So Palantir Technologies is a software company that provides data operation and AI infrastructure platforms, as well as related operational and maintenance support services to organizations across the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. Through the deployment of our software, they say, we help our customers deliver vital mission outcomes and are trusted by organizations that manage complex and highly sensitive data. We were founded in 2003 and are headquartered in Denver, Colorado. Alex Karp is the CEO of the company. And by the way, they have onboarded, I think this year, like 1,000 new clients. Their valuation has gone up a lot. And they are making companies a lot more efficient through their AI and their models that they run analytics through. So companies that aren't able to identify inefficiencies, get rid of them, change maybe their business model a bit. These guys come in and do some of that type of work, and they do it really fast. So it saves companies money, makes them more efficient, that type of thing. So let's dive into more. Palantir solutions are deployed across more than 50 sectors. So 50 different sectors. In the commercial sector, this includes banks, automotive and aircraft manufacturers, and food production companies. In the public sector, our customers include government agencies such as the Department of Defense, the National Institutes of Health, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the U.S. Department of State, as well as international defense ministries, healthcare systems, law enforcement organizations. They work with NGOs and humanitarian organizations as they further their important missions, building on years of partnership with some of the world's most important institutions. We deploy our platforms quickly and efficiently, reducing implementation time from months to days. Palantir, its platform specializes in integrating fast, siloed sources of data, regardless of data type, scale, or source, with all elements of decision making from logic, orchestration, to systems of action into one unified environment and common operating picture. We refer to the systematic mapping of data, logic, and action to meaningful semantic concepts as ontology. Organizations benefit from building and using an ontology to organize and leverage their data, enabling connectivity at scale to view local decisions in a more global context, interpretability for more robust and effective analysis, economies of scale with the ability to build entire applications and use cases in the existing ontology. Decision capture through write back actions made in platform to original source systems, and operational AI or ML directly in platform. So Palantir also builds industry leading security, transparency, privacy, and governance capabilities into their platforms, enabling a clear picture of data transactions within the platform and compliance with varying regulation or regulatory standards around the world. Our software enables organizations to generate actionable insights, optimize their operations, and better serve the people who rely on them, all while upholding the highest standards of privacy and security. They act as a data processor, not a data controller of the data our customers choose to process using our software. Data that is integrated into, analyzed, and managed by customers using Palantir's software is entirely collected, owned, and controlled by the customers themselves, not by Palantir. Customers direct the use of Palantir's software in the management and analysis of their own data. So, is Palantir a data broker or data collector? No. Palantir is neither a data broker nor data collector. They build software products to help customers integrate and understand their own data. Their business model is built on customer procurement and licensing of Palantir software. Importantly, they generally act as a data processor, not a data controller in relation to customers' data. With respect to their platforms, customers always retain full ownership and control over their data unless otherwise directed for purposes determined by those customers. While Palantir engineers may interact with customer data when acting in technical support capacities and at the express direction of the customers, and sometimes assist customers with their data integration and analytics. This is only at the direct request of customers under specific guidelines to ensure customers always retain full control of their data. And Palantir does not collect, hold, or store or sell customer data for its own purposes. And they don't resell data from one customer to another. Each customer engagement is contractually, operationally, and technologically distinct and completely walled off from every other Palantir customer, though their software and occasionally their business relationships may be used to facilitate clients' access to and use around third-party mission-critical data assets. Palantir, as a business, does not own or broker access to data. Rather, They provide the software necessary to ensure appropriate sharing, integration, and decision making. Does Palantir use customer data for its own purposes? No. They say no, we do not use customer data ourselves, nor do we develop or train AI models based on customer data. We do not use customer data in any other way, either for their own purposes or by selling to third parties. How does Palantir protect customer data and privacy? Well, privacy and data security are fundamental to Palantir and have been built on the software's architecture from the start. Contrary to some media reports, we are not a surveillance company. We do not sell personal data of any kind. We don't provide data mining as a service. Palantir is a software company. Unlike many technology companies, their business model is not based on monetizing personal data. Instead, they develop and license software platforms to enable their customers to integrate and analyze their own data assets to make better decisions. So each Palantir customer gets a unique instance of the software over which they have control. They define which data is integrated, who has access to it, and how it is used. We do not, they say, have unfettered access to customer data processed with Palantir software, nor do they share, transfer, or monetize or otherwise use such data for their own business purposes. If any Palantir engineer has temporary access to this data, this is at the explicit instruction of the customer, who grants individual access to their instance of the software and assigns the permissions necessary to carry out discrete technical tasks. This access is then revoked once the project is complete. So, I'll skip down, but they go on to talk about how they strive to be transparent about the security and privacy controls in the technologies that they design, build, and deploy, publishing blogs, videos, documentation, engaging people and customers at events. How does Palantir help organizations comply with data protection and security requirements? Say the Palantir's products were built to thrive in the most secure and highly regulated environments. While many organizations aim for compliance, we also know that regulations will often lag against the pace of technology. So we have invested in building privacy protective technologies that anticipate the future direction of privacy and security requirements, including around the development and use of AI. So they just don't go with the lag because regulations are usually in lag. They actually try to predict it and get ahead of it because the organizations they work with often operate in highly sensitive and complex digital environments, subject to strict government regulation to help them meet their ethical and legal requirements. Palantir integrates privacy and governance features into their products and develops the software through privacy by design engineering approach. And they're committed to helping organizations get value from the data while protecting sensitive information and misuse and abuse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. So our platforms act as a robust governance solution with products and features that, in the following ways, maximize security to meet the highest standards of security accreditations and safety protocols for storing and handling data, give organizations transparency and full control over how their data is being integrated, accessed, used, and interacted with wherever it is stored, instantiate privacy, ethics, and norms into the backbone and the user interface of the products and applications, achieve streamlined compliance with global privacy and data protection regulations. So is Palantir a surveillance company? No, it is not a surveillance company. Does Palantir enable predictive policing? No, Palantir does not provide predictive policing tools, nor do we support any predictive policing workflows. Palantir software is used by some law enforcement agency in a limited set of jurisdictions, including in Germany, Denmark, and the United Kingdom, so that they can perform at their operational and investigative work more efficiently and in accordance with the existing guidelines and procedures. Why does Palantir work in defense? They're proud to support the U.S. military, its allies around the world, including the defense of Ukraine against Russian aggression. But our software is also used far more widely, helping the UN World Food Program deliver life-saving assistance, supporting the resettlement of refugees, and aiding the documentation of war crimes by Ukraine's Office of the Prosecutor General. Palantir was founded to support critical national security missions. Palantir's support for the U.S. military is one of the defining commitments as a company, as is our work across the Department of Defense, from Special Forces to Space Force. They have worked across a number of mission sets, from the counterterrorism workflows in Afghanistan, Iraq, and elsewhere, to the more recent focus on conventional nation state adversaries. As a builder of powerful software systems, they believe it's their responsibility to ensure the capabilities that they build and the workflows that they enable are built out in a way that is informed by our customers' obligations under the international humanitarian law, or the IHL, and their need to make critical decisions quickly and confidently. Palantir software is also built to ensure that relevant subject matter experts ultimately make these highly consequential decisions, especially those that may impact the lives of well-being and the well-being of others. We think the U.S. military needs access to the best technology America has to offer, and that they can work in partnership to ensure this technology is developed and deployed ethically and responsibly. Ultimately, the civil liberties we enjoy at home are defended by a strong and successful military that believe that improving their ability to deter adversaries and, if necessary, fight and win wars is in itself a moral good. And they have a link to finding more about their defense work. What is the nature and scope of Palantir's ICE contract? So they do have a contract with ICE, and their primary mandates to investigate transnational crime and criminal organizations, including human trafficking, drug, weapons smuggling, and money laundering. This contracting relationship began under the Obama administration in 2011 and has spanned 4 administrations. I'll skip down. It keeps going on, but we'll keep going for time here. Would Palantir ever restrict the use of software for ethical reasons? Yes, this has occurred on several cases, and Palantir critically reviews and ethically considers the work they have at regular intervals. So they'll review that. Palantir is a founding and enduring commitment to support the fundamental rights, namely privacy and security, and to furthering the work of key institutions and ideals. They're dedicated to supporting the United States and the only partner with Western liberal democracies and their strategic allies. So they carefully do evaluate potential clients and possible applications of software for compatibility with their values and principles. For example, as we make clear in our ongoing reports to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Palantir does not do business with the Communist Party of China, does not host platforms in China, and imposes restrictions on platform access from China. We do not share software with the Russian government or operate in any capacity in Russia. Palantir has also refused to work with other international government agencies because of concerns about human rights violations. So they say they rigorously considers the ethical impact of their work in sensitive use cases, ranging from privacy considerations to the responsible use of AI. So for example, they don't work with any political campaigns or social media, political social media in any context. So they go on and talk about that. Does Palantir support Europe's digital sovereignty and data protection? And their software platforms are built to enable maximal customer control and assurances around the use of their data and adherence to their applicable regulatory, institutional, or other requirements. It's central to what they do in their own decision-making, analytics, and workflows. So there is a common and persistent misconception that U.S. software provides a backdoor to surveillance by U.S. intelligence and security services. This is neither how we operate nor what we believe to be appropriate role for trusted technology provider. Beyond operating strictly as a data processor and providing explicit legal and strong technical assurances to reinforce customer control over their data through the use of Palantir software, Palantir also works with customers with acute concerns to further address specific risks of customer data requisition by the U.S. government through legal processes or other means. So Palantir's co-founder and CEO, Dr. Alex Karp, He's often expressed admiration for Europe's social market economy and tradition and vast experience of European industry. As our partnerships with European companies deepen, we believe it is increasingly important to consider not just where technology originates, but how it's implemented and governed. Palantir encourages a refocusing of the discourse around European digital sovereignty to address more concrete considerations of data control and decision autonomy rather than over-indexing on the belief that all digital components must be built from scratch in Europe by European firms. To build capacity tomorrow, Europe must focus on adopting the tools that work today, regardless of whether they were designed in Silicon Valley or its technology hubs, and bootstrapping adoption and further development on top of a firm foundation of proven technology. Not all technology must be homegrown. European public and private sector institutions should continue to insist that procured tools, regardless of their provenance, place primary on data control and data protection that European users can demonstrably rely on. As with Palantir's products, decision-making authority should remain at the local or regional chain of command. Technology components built with trust should serve and reinforce self-reliance and the capacity of Europe's defense agencies and alliances to inform and execute operations planning, strategy, and tactics. Does Palantir support specific U.S. administrations? Palantir has partnered with the U.S. government across a variety of domains, including intelligence, defense, healthcare, and others since its founding in 2003. While the policies and priorities of each administration vary, they see their role as an enduring partner of the U.S. government to ensure it has access to cutting edge of commercially developed technology for critical missions. And they go on to talk about it. How do Palantir's platforms enable secure collaboration between organizations? So global organizations are often faced with the operating challenges either across different jurisdictions or in partnership with other entities in their industry. Data is subject to different regulations depending on where it is held, who needs access to it, and for what purpose. Palantir's platforms enable global organizations to securely collaborate with full control over what data is shared and with whom and under what conditions, all at the data owner's discretion. Skywise is a primary example of how our products enable secure and controlled collaboration with and between organizations. So Skywise is a digital ecosystem for the entire aviation industry provided by Airbus and powered by Palantir Foundry. Airlines and suppliers in the aviation industry worldwide use Skywise to improve operational efficiency and safety and prevent delays. This collaboration allows suppliers to optimize their inventory and reduce delivery delays. Airbus is accelerating production and developing new business models. Skywise connects different organizations into a single ecosystem. This collaboration is made possible by a unified data integration architecture in which participants can manage their own information and work together toward a common goal by securely exchanging specific data. Importantly, as described in the sections above, where Palantir's platforms are used to facilitate sharing across organizations, is done so at the discretion of those organizations with limited scope and purpose as determined by data owners and with regard to any applicable legal policy or technical requirements. So what is it like to work at Palantir? Looks like everybody, they're looking for people. They're very supportive of our culture, especially in America, and they're looking for the best and brightest. Where can I learn more or get in touch with Palantir? If you guys want to check this out, go to their website, palantir.com. They have the FAQ out there, and I really appreciate that they release this because it kind of outlines what Palantir is all about. Palantir has become quite a strong position for me and my clients, and it's a lot of fun to see their growth take off, literally take off. It's been awesome. And I think that trend will continue over the course of the coming decade or two. All right, that wraps it up for this episode of the Northbound Wealth Podcast. Like and subscribe. See you next week.
Whether you're just getting started as an investor or you're managing a multi-million-dollar portfolio, Northbound Wealth Management has the solution for you. It all starts with building the right financial plan. To speak with a financial planner today, visit northboundwealth.com. Don't forget to check us out on youtube.com at Northbound Wealth. And make sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite podcasting app. Thank you for listening.